Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Too Good to Be True podcast. I am your host, Pascal Mayala. On Real Talk of this conversation on my bonus platform of Too Good to Be True podcast, we will discuss about the Jaylen Brown interview with Stephen A. Smith. But first, before we talk about it, I want you guys to do something before we watch our exclusive video of Stephen A. Smith interviewing Jaylen Brown. I want you guys to go to my YouTube channel, Too Good to Be True podcast, and do me a favor, like, subscribe, notify, leave your comment on my video, and also share it with your friend to watch my YouTube channel. And also, you can listen to this bonus real talk on my podcast of YouTube, Too Good to Be True podcast. You can listen to this on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. So don't forget to listen to the podcast, subscribe, and enjoy this podcast when you can. When leave your comment on my YouTube channel. Let's move on. So during this days at the opening season uh of the Boston Celtics winning the 18 championship, they just received their ring and put up their number 18 banners on in the rafters. Stephen A. Smith had interviewed Jaylen Brown about what's happening with him with the anonymous journalism um of people who talk about Jaylen Brown because he's not marketable, marketable athlete, and also that he wasn't selected in Team USA. But we're not talking about the selection of Team USA. It's been done, it's been done. But we're gonna talk about the interview with Stephen A. Smith about the source, that unanimous source of people talking about Jaylen Brown that he's not marketable. He really want to figure out who's the person beyond the unnamed source. So we are gonna share this video. It's gonna be 60 minute long. We're gonna share it. I hope I don't get copyright, please. I hope I don't get copyright for this podcast. And I don't get copyright for this video too. So I wish everybody to watch it. I enjoy it. Then I will conclude what I'm thinking about. So I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share it right now. I'm gonna share it, and we'll watch together. Here we hold on, and here we go.
That's right. State your source. State your source.
Yes,
Oh, we're gonna get into all of that.
for sure.
No question.
And honestly, I wore this shirt, because like this is where I wanted to start the conversation,
Okay.
get into it. And to be honest,
Pull the mic closer to you, so I want to make sure the audience hears you. Go ahead.
absolutely, I think it's deeper than rap.
Mhm.
I think it's bigger than both you and I. Like obviously, your credentials are through the roof. Covering AI to First Take being the #1 show, and now taking the world by storm with your new podcast. So I wore this shirt, but I honestly, I know just because of your credentials that you're never going to reveal
Never.
the sources, because you abide by something called journalistic integrity.
Right.
But hear me out.
Sure.
A couple months back, on your platform, you recited an unnamed source.
Right.
Well, I feel like attacked my character.
That was what we played on the cold open, by the way. Sure.
And one, I didn't really get a chance to defend myself, and two, the damage kind of already is done. And I think journalistic integrity goes two ways.
Yes, sir.
So for me, I think a lot of people were upset, and as was I, because I understand journalistic integrity, and I understand how that works, but I also understand the idea of normal integrity as well, and I also want to maintain and protect that.
Sure.
So to start off, I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
And profession aside, you know, as a number one reporter with the biggest platform,
yes, sir,
in the world, I hold you accountable.
Please
so,
do.
Is there ever any dissension from what you report on as a man? I mean, what you report on as a reporter, and then what you stand for as an individual? Like when you go home, is there ever any dissension in the decisions that you make?
Well, for the most part, no, because I find myself to be humane and fair. But in the same breath, when we take this example, let me use this example that you're talking about, but what I said was text to me about you. And by the way, others had said it as well. I wasn't talking about how I feel. You and I have been cool for years. You've always been good to me. What I was trying to say was, this brother is great. He's great on the basketball court. He's great off the basketball court. He's an individual of very high integrity, highly educated, whom most people that you encounter considers you nothing short of brilliant. And yet, these opportunities that clearly you are deserving of and should be afforded to you was not. And so when I brought that up, I literally get a text in the middle of the show. And immediately after the show, I got 3 separate phone calls. And they were like, yo, this guy is not liked by some of the powers that be because he's smart, because he's outspoken, because he's principled and he's defiant and he's not easily manipulated. These are things that are costing him. I didn't look at it as something that was smearing your character. I looked at it as individuals basically pointing out that you're not liked. And I completely understand why folks who are in positions of power and decision-making positions wouldn't like somebody, because they usually don't like folks that are principled.
I agree.
Sure.
And I wasn't holding you accountable for anything that you said.
Right.
It was that your platform is so large. You have the number one platform in the world. First Take, your podcast now. What I was asking was, is there a dissension about what you report on, and also how you carry yourself as an individual and as a man? Like, how do you differentiate the two? But to be honest, I'm gonna come clean.
Sure.
Like, I wanted to have this conversation, but honestly, I couldn't wait to address this unnamed source.
Right.
I know they probably will be watching this, because people like that are always watching. And I wanted to let them know that I had a great summer. Like, just as simple as that. Like, I traveled the world. I went to Umrah. I won 2 MVPs. I, launched Black Wall Street in Oakland and made a music video. I had a blast.
Right.
So I wanted to let them know that I had a great summer. I really wanted to address them directly, but I feel like since this all kind of happened on your platform, I want to send a message to you, to them.
Right.
Because you're only the person that knows who the source is. And I basically wanted to say to them that I think it's cowardice. I think historically, unnamed sources have attacked some of our greats. And we are not responsible for what they lack in design. Frankly, they can call all their buddies, they pals and friends from all over the world, all the unnamed sources, and they can shove it where they got it from. Whether they think I'm marketable or not, I walk with God. I'm gonna be me and stand with my community in this life and the next, and that's my journalistic integrity.
Okay.
Go ahead. I wanted to get that off my chest.
Sure.
And now we can start the interview.
You can get it all off your chest. I'm not going away, because I got to tell you something. I don't understand why somebody saying what others may feel about you to hold you back, and they know that you've done nothing to deserve it. I don't understand how that's cowardice for them to talk about what somebody else is feeling. Like, for example, I'm looking at you and I think about Bill Russell, how principled he was. I think about Muhammad Ali, how principled he was. I think about Kirk Flood, who was the father, of free agency. When you think about what he did in Major League Baseball, I think about Jackie Robinson integrating the sport of baseball. I think about so many highly educated, highly accomplished, highly principled individual. The word likability is not something that you would attach to them when it came to Madison Avenue and marketability and promotion. So somebody saying this guy is not liked because of that reason, that's not them insulting you. That's not them calling you out. It's them saying the world that we're living in, you're not somebody that's easy to control. You're somebody, you stand on your own and you're your own man.
For sure.
What's the problem with that?
It's a balance, because it's one, you could critique someone's performance.
Okay.
But then also if you're attacking their character. Like, they didn't just say that I wasn't liked. They said I wasn't marketable. They said I was arrogant. I carried myself with a certain demeanor. Mm-hmm. And that line gets crossed between critiquing someone's performance, not liking them for whatever reason, and then attacking someone's character. I think journalistic integrity requires it to go both ways. I never had a chance to respond or defend myself. One, because they're never going to reveal themselves. And two, the damage is already done. So when I'm speaking to is the unnamed sources. Like, if you speak on it and you say something because we have a relationship, at least I can look at you and we can go back and forth about what it is that we believe or what it is that we don't believe. An unnamed source, like, what is that? And to be honest, it reminds me, I think it has familiarity with when I was entering the draft.
2016 third overall pick.
What was said? Do you remember?
I do not. I'm sorry.
When I got drafted, they said that I was too smart. A source, an unnamed source, said that I was too smart to be a basketball player or something like that, and that would hurt my draft stock because it was a form of questioning authority. And this unnamed source, who now have said
back in 2016.
Back in 2016, it was a very popular, subject at the time, and this source kind of reminds me of that as well, And I actually figured out who that source was.
Okay.
But I know because of your credentials, your background, your journalistic integrity, we never gonna figure out who that one is.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not. I'm not gonna let that happen because I protect my sources. But I will tell you this: there's also a line that I wouldn't allow to be crossed. Like, if somebody were to call up and to get into your personal business and try to attack you, I'd have never said anything like that. I'd never let something like that come out of my mouth over the airways or anything like that. But somebody pointing to this individual that went to Cal, this individual, I want to read something here. At the time that last year, when you agreed to your new contract extension, 5 years, over $300 million, it says here, you're the youngest person to ever hold a lecture at Harvard, became an MIT Media Lab fellow, was offered a NASA internship, became the NBA Players Association youngest vice president at the age of 22 years of age. And when your historic contract was finalized, you were in a robotics session at MIT. Is that true?
It's true.
So with all of that being true, I look at somebody like yourself and I don't consider it a negative, because the words that emanated out of somebody's mouth about what was being felt about you forced us to look into your background even more and ask the question, what the hell is wrong with him?
Absolutely.
Look at his intellect. Look at the fact that he doesn't get in trouble. Look at the fact that he's a great player on both ends of the floor. It forced us all to look at you, and then it had me screaming, why the hell isn't he all NBA? Why the hell isn't he on the Olympic team? You see what I'm saying?
It might have been misconstrued.
Right.
It may be in my tone, but my issue was never with you. It was with the unnamed source.
But I knew that.
I think
because your family told me.
I do hold you accountable for your platform. I think we should hold each other accountable.
Right.
You have the biggest and largest platform. I feel like one of the biggest reporters in the U.S. So I think that should have some dissension at the end of the day.
I have no problem with that.
Who I always wanted to address, who I couldn't wait, was this source.
Right. Right.
So that's why I wanted to iterate to you, to reiterate back to them that whether they think I'm marketable or not, whether they think I'm liked or not, it's not stopping nothing. They can do their worst. And I'm going to stand with my community and I'm going to be myself in this life and the next. And that's what I stand on.
And who are you, Jaylen? You describe yourself. Who are you?
I am a man living through his purpose. You know, I think God has an extreme influence on my life. So as he says, I go. I am extremely passionate about the things that I care about and the things that I love, and I'm willing to sacrifice anything for my family, my community, or society to be in a better place.
I watched you during the NBA playoffs, and I love me some Jason Tatum. You know, everybody knows I love me some Jason Tatum. You were absolutely sensational during the playoffs. You closed the deal against Indiana. You won the NBA Finals. You're the NBA Finals MVP. How did you feel at that moment? I know it must be phenomenal to win a championship. But with you, there always seems to be something more, something deeper, an emotion I'm talking about that comes with it. What was that for you?
I think it was shock. Honestly, I was shocked. Not
when
that
you won the MVP?
I was shocked.
Or when you won?
When both.
Okay.
Well, you know, you get so locked in on the journey that you sometimes like black everything out. Like, you know, your focus becomes so adamant that nothing else exists besides what is in front of you and the job that needs to be done. So honestly, when we won, it felt like we had another series to play. It felt like it was another game coming up, and my mind was like instantly going into preparation mode. So it was having a hard time, like settling on the fact that, nah, this is it. There's no more games. This is it. And we did it.
When you won the championship and they said that you were the most valuable player for the finals, you looked shocked. I remember that look on your face. You didn't expect that at all. Is that a fair assessment?
I think I deserved it.
Right.
But I did not expect it for reasons that we've been talking about earlier in this conversation. I feel like because of who I am and because of how I approach things and what I stand for, it intimidates people and rubs people the wrong way. And I think good, because there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of things that need to be changed. We see the results from our former players. We see the results in our community, and nobody thinks that we need to change some of these cycles. So you should feel a certain type of way when I walk into the room. And that has caused me to miss out on opportunities, awards, and things like that, popularity. And I would be lying if I said it didn't bother me earlier in my career, but I got to the point where I fully embraced it. I walk into my masculinity. I know exactly who I am, and I'm comfortable with that. You know, whether it goes left or right, whatever direction it goes for me, my platform, whether something shakes tomorrow, like I can live with the fact that I'm gonna stand on my principles and my values to the end.
You realize that everything you just said validated everything that I pointed out, right? You understand that, right?
I do.
Do you understand that, right?
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I did. It's about accountability on my part as well,
that's
because of the platform that I have, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
No question about it. And by the way, I'm one of those guys. Listen, if you watch me on my day job on First Take, you'll see me half the time with my head down. You know why? Because I get text messages every segment. Every single segment of every single show, somebody that's texting me about some players, people who pretended to hate me and never talk to me, but they're the ones texting me, coaches, executives, owners, agents, everybody. It's always been that way. So getting a perspective, it's a challenge at times to know what the line is and what it isn't. That's why I've never changed my number in 20-something years, because I want to make sure everybody can reach me, and there's no excuse for say we couldn't reach Stephen A. We couldn't reach out and touch him. That's what I try.
That's very true. And you are here now in Boston, allowing me to be on your platform to respond. And I think that in itself is a great notion, because like a great reporter gets both sides.
Right.
So I feel like your unnamed source created this whole hoopla where people felt some type of way, as did I. People responded. But now it's the opportunity to clear the air. and talk about things that matter, but also address it and then move on.
Right. I don't, but the thing about it is that I don't think it was something that was created. I think you recognize the fact that because of who you are and what you stand on,
For sure.
that there are certain people in positions of power that want to hold you back because when they want to do business, they want to do business with people that they can control.
So you heard what Stephen A. and Jaylen Brown had to say each other, and kudos to Jaylen Brown to go to Stephen A. podcast to uh, get out his chest about his why the media don't like him, the unnamed sources, and etc. And some. But let's make it clear. I I I I I held also and like Jaylen Brown said, both Stephen A. Smith and Jaylen Brown should held accountable. That's simple as fact. Now let's talk about the unnamed sources. Yes, the unnamed source should be protected. Yeah, and Stephen A. Smith cannot just say the name of the person who said that because as a journalist you got to protect that person because if you don't, you know, the more people find out is that person, the more people uh will go against him, and it will hurt him as a journalism. So to me, I don't have a problem with the unnamed sources because when you're journalism, you got to protect the name of the person who really covered the NBA. As pretend for Jaylen Brown and not be likable. Look, I'll tell you what, it's kind of true what he's saying. Everything you heard is true because I don't know who or why they don't like Jaylen Brown. Like you said, like you said, because he was too smart, and for that's not fair. If he is too smart, why he's in the NBA then? So to me, it's like the person who tried to write this have a clear hatred on Jaylen Brown. And I'm not saying Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A. Smith should always show love. I respect Stephen A. Smith, even though I never met the person. But I know his job is 24/7 is pretty much hard to cover the NBA, football, baseball, and so on and so forth. Having go the first thing in the morning, then you have to do the podcast, watching the game, analyze it, and so on and so forth. But I do understand other people who trying to give it the name of the person. I do understand, but as, as a journalist, you cannot give the name of the person. So kudos to Jaylen Brown and everything is going on with him and his career and the whole Team USA snub. I said this. I don't think I said it in my podcast. I don't remember what I said, but I think that he deserved to be on the Team USA. I think it is not fair that somebody who's an all-star caliber had the resume to be selected in Team USA and not being selected to participate in the Olympics. So this one is not fair. And also, for the people who try to say, "Oh, Stephen A. Is is protecting that person." Of course, he is doing it because that's his job. He was a journalism first. So to me, the people don't. That's what I'm people don't understand what it's like to be a journalism. So I respect everybody's opinion, but at the same time, you probably if you were in journalism, you're not going to give the name of the source because number one, you put that guy in danger and his family. And I don't wish nobody death threat around here. But let's call it space to fate. Space to space. Let's call it what it is. If Stephen A. Smith had given that person name to Jaylen Brown, I think there will be a lot of death threat for for that person. So to me, I understand because he got a job to do, Stephen A. Smith, but at the same time, there's some journalism not gonna like you because you got a lot of sources, a lot of people in the locker room, even players too. Let's hold the other players accountable also. Even though they say it's a brotherhood, it's kind of true, but at the same time, let's be reality. Some of the people don't like each other. Let's call it what it is. Some people don't like that their teammate, and they can talk shit to a journalism and tell about everything go for. So to me, it is what it is. But kudos to Jaylen Brown and kudos to Stephen A. Smith to do the interview. I listened to this interview, and you know what? I understand James Brown points, and I understand Stephen A. Smith's points. So to me, I got no problem with it. So thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you want to follow me on social media, go follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at Belly versus PMM. Instagram, Pascal underscore Bayala underscore 15. Same thing with Threads. Like I said, you want to listen to my podcast, listen to a Spotify, Amazon, music, and Apple Podcast. You can watch this on live. Actually, not live, but my video on my YouTube channel, Too Good to Be True podcast. You can see the real talk content, all the folders of all my video of the real talk that I discuss and giving my opinion. So go to my YouTube channel, do me a favor, like, subscribe, notify, and leave your comment on my video and share it with everybody that you know. So, uh, that being said, thank you very much for watching it, and I'll see you next time.